Today we have Rajat Chauhan, sports medicine specialist, Keerthana Swaminathan, sports psychologist, in conversation with the moderator of this session, Rajesh Vetcha, who is the founder of Hyderabad Runners. This discussion is going to revolve around how running, long distance running, especially in a community setting and in an urban space, can have an effect on the body and the mind. And with that, I'll like to request Rajesh to kindly take this conversation forward.
Thank you, Anishila. Can I invite Rajat and Keerthana first round, please? Good morning, everybody. Yes, we are going to talk about running, but I would like to go a step back and talk about first the idea of movement, because today what we really have a very big challenge is inactivity. And inactivity, you can hear me? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, is inactivity. So our evolution has been due to activity, and modern day life is all about inactivity. It's due to automation, automobile, and so many other things. So we're going to go a step back and talk about how we as a species have evolved due to activity, which probably Dr. Rajat Chauhan will talk about it. And then we kind of would want to look at what are the challenges we face today, especially the modern day. I talk about the last 10, 15 years. What is making us inactive, from the way we move, the way we live, the way we do things, and down to now the entire idea of your Swiggies and Zomatos, which don't even want you to go out, and also in your Blinkits, which you can order in 5 minutes and 10 minutes and get there. So every possible thing to make you not move, that's what it is all going to be. This session brings about two interesting people. I have Dr. Rajat Chauhan, who is a sports medicine doctor, who calls himself a student of pain and movement. So I would leave it to him when he talks about it, what he's going to talk about that. And I have Keerthana Swaminathan, a sports psychologist, young sports psychologist, who works on two aspects. One is she does a lot of work with professionals and young professionals who are aspiring to become serious sports person. And she also does a lot of work in the idea of movement and how it helps improve mental health and other things. So they would be narrating a few examples of what they are doing in this space as we go ahead, and to put it in the context of what we do and how we live today. So this session will draw some insights from human physiology, behavioral science, and lived community experience. The panel, how movement affects the body and mind, why motivation often fails. We have 100 reasons or 100 excuses not to be active. So how do we make the people find that one reason to be active? And how urban environments and collective initiatives can make living natural rather than aspirational. So today running, the idea is, many people think it's aspirational. I don't think it's something very natural and part of our evolution, which now has become aspirational. So somewhere along the way, what was normal has become abnormal, and what was abnormal has become normal. So end of this, how do we translate scientific understanding of movement into everyday contexts? Examine psychological drivers and barriers that shape sustained activity. Explore how communities and city can institutionalize active living. A simple example would be that, this one small urban space, we would look at it as a building, knowledge park and all that. Just the idea of ability to move around this place, accessible for people through small ramps, signage, space, safety. So this is what actually urban environment needs to have everywhere. So we do have the rules, regulations, everything, but we don't have, just to kind of put things in perspective, three key issues which today as, issues in the world. One is environment, other one is health, three is safety. the just simple act of walking, how can it become? You have payments, you have everything, people can move around. So that makes them healthy by themselves. You don't need to do anything more than that. Then how do you do safety? The fact that you're able to get from one place to another place easily, and you reduce people taking out automobiles. Now your blankets, everything, it takes, you're bringing out an automobile. As many people whom I can see are like 35, 40 plus. We used to go out to go and buy something, walk. Today, even it's 200 meters, people want to take a bike out. So the idea of movement has changed completely because of the way the urban environment and the setting is now going on. So these are simple things which need to kind of be brought into them. So this session, we would try to give out some examples of this and also share the experiences. So now I would request Dr. Rajat. I'm going to give, how we're going to go about it is we're going to give 5 minutes each for the opening remarks, and then we're going to have a thematic discussion for 20 minutes on this entire thing of how the aspects of science, movement, and the city and everything. So thank you. So Rajat, now I'll leave it to you. How do you want to go about setting out your open remarks?
Okay, so something very simple, and I said something to Rajesh, but I'll just go against it. So effectively, when we come to humans, humans are lazy beings, okay? We are meant to do what we are doing right now, be lazy bums, all right? Point being, earlier when we were out there, we keep giving examples of 10,000 years ago and 5,000 years ago and all that. We were trying to survive. We were either trying to not be eaten or find food for ourselves. But we weren't like, hey, listen, let's do squats and let's do push-ups and all that. We were not trying to exercise. We were trying to survive. That's very, very important to understand. So as I said, inherently we are wired to be lazy, all right? So that resistance of going against nature, it's actually going against nature. So we keep saying, being human, being human. Being human means be lazy, right? But things have changed. Then we had to actually move. Now it's just comfortable, right? I mean, when agriculture happened, we just sat down. That's the problem with agriculture. So I think we need to be changing that because efficiency happens, what it compromises on is then saying what's the word? Exertion, right? So if you're exerting too much, that's not efficient enough, right? So what I'm really saying is we need to figure that part out. We need to figure out, again, what we'll talk a lot, the psychology and all that. The habit formation is a very important part. Motivation is very, very important. How is that needed to be done? Surprisingly, and it's interesting, the crowd here, as we age, we need it more. And women need it more than men. I mean, I'm not trying to be sexist. They need to be more fitter. Because, they've been told throughout life not to be active and all that. And again, I understand the whole social bit and all that. So, and again, talking about, like, I'll just give a very simple example. I was at Zurich Airport, and Zurich Airport actually has a running circuit around it. And we don't. I mean, I'm not talking about airports, I'm just saying about workspaces. There's a better chance of someone running if there's a track around. And if track means nothing, just lay a red color on the ground, okay, and maybe 2 white lines on the sides. Suddenly you're telling them, hey, listen, it is to run, right, or to walk. And we guys are not doing that enough, and yeah. So we'll talk about this. Just a little background, I've been running for 42 years. Started off with an idea to represent the country, all that stuff. Ended up in a medical college, and from that medal, and that's why I become relevant, from chasing that medal, then saying, how do I work at a social level, at a cultural level? So I realized very early on that the time spent, effort spent, infrastructure spent to potentially win that medal, one medal, potentially. You can do all of that for 10,000 or more people. And I was like, listen, 10,000 makes more sense, right? In any case, most medal winners are not necessarily the best people in the world, all right? So I mean, that's just me. And just to put it very simply, I've been involved with the Cricket World Cup 3 times, with the England team, with the Indian team, all that stuff. I've been, one of the players did win the Olympics, the World Championships, and the European. And that was the instigator for me saying, not happening. I mean, I don't like medals. I don't like trophies, okay? So we'll be coming a lot from there. Experiences, again, we'll talk about that. And I think I've said enough, so I'll just pass it on. Keerthana, please.
Hello. Yeah. Yeah, Keerthana, I would like to hear from you about what it is you do and how you want to kind of share your thoughts today in this center.
Perfect. So firstly, thank you so much for being here, all of you. I know it's a Sunday morning and it's not easy to get up. Although I can't relate to that because I've been running for the last 13 years and Sunday mornings are supposed to be long runs for us. So that's again, it's a lifestyle and a habit. I actually completely agree with everything he just said. So I'm also going to come from a very psychological plus physiological perspective. So our brain is wired, we come from the animal kingdom. Our brain is made from there. It's not like it's evolved from the animal kingdom, which means our brain is tuned for survival rather than anything else for that matter. So the first thing that our brain notices is threat, danger, and how to avoid it completely, how to run away from it completely. And one thing we need to realize is that modernization right now, what has happened is that everything seems overwhelming. Everything seems like danger to our brain. It need not be just, some bike coming really fast that makes us feel danger, makes us sense danger. But sometimes even just walking on the road might feel like very overwhelming for us. So we've come to a point in our modern world where everything feels very volatile, everything feels very ambiguous, and it's very inconsistent and erratic. And that is danger to our brain, right? That is how our nervous systems perceives everything. So in very simple terms, we've been tuned to that. And one is that, yes, we are tuned to be lazy, for the lack of better words. But definitely on another side, we are running away from something which we feel is danger. So today, even our conversation is going to revolve around how to make it feel safer to move around, how to make it, within your own space, how to make it accessible for yourself. How do you, again, there are lots of belief systems, there are lots of stereotypes, myths around working out. So people say this is how you should be working out. There are a lot of shoulds associated with working out. There are a lot of shoulds and should nots associated with running, for example. Small questions like, should I use this? Should I not use this? Too much thinking going on over there when sometimes it's actually not necessary. You just have to pick up a pair of shoes and just go out and run. That's pretty much it, right? So how to make it simpler for ourselves so that we can actually make movement more accessible for us. And that's the most of what I'm going to talk about. So again, habits, how do we create better habits? How do we make sure that not just running, any form of movement or physical activity can be integrated with your everyday part of life so that it does not feel very challenging or overwhelming and, it's not too much for you. So that's what I'm going to mainly touch upon as well. Yes.
I kind of started off saying that today the biggest problem is inactivity, and I have two of them telling me that, we are designed and wired to be lazy. So I have a challenge, starting this entire thing. So, and I can't really, both of them talking from a perspective of science. But I would like to talk it from a perspective of living and the social aspects of what it is. So broadly, we'll have this discussion around three things I'd like to think. First is movement as a scientific practice. So, Rajat, you had mentioned about what happens if it becomes a lifelong habit and all those. So the first part I would like to discuss with you on this, probably, Keerthana, you can talk about it. And then, Keerthana, we would like to talk about this idea of psychology of active living. You touched upon motivation, fear, self-image, burnout. We talked about people struggling to move. So I'd like to hear from you both these perspectives because whatever you have said, the design to be lazy is one, but the 21st century our living is very difficult. And probably that time, you didn't have doctors, you didn't have science, so people were happy, they didn't have to worry. If they died, they died. So, but you have today a current system which is telling you that I can prolong your life, I can make you live long, I'll take you into the ICU, I'll take you for longer time, there's whole lot of systems. So I'm of the firm belief, like many other people, I don't know, three places I would like to avoid in my life is hospitals, police stations, and courts. Hospitals first. So, okay, only if required, pre. So, Rajat, with all this, like, I would like to talk to you first as a doctor, and probably you would like to give the current perspective from how medicine looks at it and the reality.
Right, so movement, okay, let's just go back to what I was earlier saying. And that's not to discourage anyone from moving, okay? It's kind of very important because otherwise you'll become a chair or a table, all right? It'll become a piece of furniture. So as Rajesh was saying, I like to call myself student of pain and running. But even before that, I used to call myself, I still like to, militant advocate of get off your ass, Goya, all right? And that's a very, very important thing. So as much as I say we were lazy to begin with, but there's something very fascinating if we go back in time or tribes that are not touched by humans yet. If you actually look at Goya, right, get off your ass. So if you look at their ass, and this is a very, very important part, they're very well developed. They're very well developed. And again, footwear is a different story because that's what those guys get very excited about 10,000 years ago. When I have three generations in the room, grandfather, grandmother could have come with a knee pain or a back pain. But again, going back to Rajesh's point, they are, when I ask them to squat, they go all the way down, all the way up. It's hurting, but I can do a squat. Squat is never a problem, right? They might even need a knee replacement, by the way, and yet they can go up and down all the way, right? Then come the father and the mother or whoever else has come, the second generation. They managed to get to about a chair level when I asked them to squat, and mostly, and they're like, acha, can't go any further, right? And then are these 15-year-olds and 17-year-olds and all that. Trust me, I'll have to demonstrate this to you. So they get here, and they're like, I can't squat anymore, all right, this is it. So then you would wonder, how do they sit? They sit like that. They fall down on the chairs, all right? So they don't have this range almost always, right? So it's going against what I was saying earlier. So I mean, it was just to kind of, break the ice and all. Yes, by design, humans are lazy. But in today's world, being lazy will actually be counterproductive, because if it's about fear, if it's about anything, we need to get moving. Very, very important that we do that, because that's associated, again, we are talking about the body and the body and the body, but the mind part is here. Mind is far more important. And when we move, that's when the happiness comes along, those hormones that we talk about, irisin and all that. That becomes a very important part, because to me, it's not about miles and distances and all that, and community, we can talk all that. It's about general happiness that you're talking about, okay? Avoiding hospitals, I mean, I deal with pain a lot. Back pain, knee pain, all that. I have been treating back pain, knee pain, slip discs, knee replacement, surgery's been advised. How do you use movement to get out of it or delay it as much as you can, because you're rushing it too much? So staying out of the hospital, I mean, I'm in the business of that. Seriously, it comes with moving around, right? And overall fitness becomes a very, very important part.
So Rajat, would you talk about consistency or intensity?
Very important. So consistency and the second one?
Or intensity, because today you have wearables, apps, HIIT, you have advertisements all over.
I'll add one more to it, motivation. Everyone talks about motivation left, right, and center. Motivation's overrated. I think
Completely agreed.
Yes, I'm from a boarding school. My first morning, so my parents had left me the morning before, and evening. And the first morning, we were supposed to run. It was established in 1888, Weinberg School, Missouri. And we were running, and suddenly there was a sharp shooting pain on my butt. And I was like, what is this? And my PE teacher was behind me with a cane in his hand. He had just hit me on my butt. And I was like, sir, I mean, my parents don't love me anyways.
So you'll be arrested in a box or something today if you do that.
Yes, exactly. But I'm kind of promoting this. We need to be caning. I mean, come, wait for this. So I was like, my parents don't love me. They've thrown me in a boarding school, all right? And the very first morning, you're caning me while I'm running. I mean, as it is, I struggle to get up. And you cane me. He's like, but why are you coming last? I'm like, what do you mean? You're like, you can come second last. You don't have to come last. And look at you, you're thin, you're all that. All I'm saying is, all of us, and that's been a very, very big lesson for me. I mean, it did hurt me pretty badly that morning. But my lesson was, we can do this much more. Not this much more, just this tiny, tiny more. Initially, though, coming to the point, motivation, sometimes Cain is the motivation, all right? But for the first 30, 40 days, again, an expert right here, 30, 40 days, I'm not interested in, is it feeling good, all right? Figure out how will you consistently, that's the more important word, stick around with it for 30, 40 days, not asking every morning, is it feeling good? Because it will not feel good. You're not used to feeling good. You are used to sitting on your butt and, watching television or whatever else you're doing, or phone, right? That's more important. First is the habit formation. Figure that out. Form the right kind of groups, if you can. Motivate others. There's a bit of when you actually make others sign up for a program, say 3 other friends, and you're supposedly the captain of the 3 other very lazy beings, right? And there's the pressure that if I don't show up, they won't either. Figure that out, whatever model works. And try keeping it for the 30, 40 days, right? Whatever. And then it's everything else that starts coming. What was the second word you used? I'm sorry.
Consistency versus intensity.
Intensity. Intensity is very, very important because that's where the change happens. Initially, very low intensity is very good for you. But going ahead, intensity now needs to change. First 10, 15, 20 days, I'm not talking too much about how intense the activity is. But eventually, I mean, I'll give a very simple example. If someone's walking for 40 years and does 1 hour, 6 kilometers, 7 kilometers of walk, it's a habitual thing. Physically, you're not improving with it as much. Yes, you're aging, so yes, it does affect you because it's a little bit more difficult as we age, right? But over a period of time, it's more of a habit thing and it's not actually helping you as much. So we need to start pushing a little bit more. Now, really, that's where the exertion needs to come in a little bit more. That becomes a very, very important part. But that's down the line. That's not something to begin with. That's after like 2 months, 3 months, 4 months that we talk about that. Showing up matters more. I mean, that's my main thing here, that showing up matters more, figure out how.
So, Keerthana, now Rajat has mentioned this. I know you have been working in this space of not only with the professional athletes, the idea of, how do you get people to move, and you're also doing your PhD in this space, how the family kind of influences this entire thing. Would you like to share some of these aspects of, first, why do people struggle to start or even sustain the basic movement, despite awareness? I think everybody in this room agrees that you have to be active, right? Does everybody agree? Can I have your hands up? Okay, everybody agrees. Everybody is aware that you have to do something of this kind at least thrice in a week or 4 times? Everybody agrees? Okay, how many of you do it? Oh, good. We have a fairly active room. Thank you. So why is it that with everything possible today in terms of awareness, media, knowledge, you have your WhatsApp, Google, so many things going on, what is it that stops? Because today as a country, like what we have still like 75 to 80% inactive in the sense, especially upon a certain section of the populations. While, I don't want to talk about, your mates or whatever. They all come walking, they all keep going, walking, they do the long distances, but still they have health issues for other reasons, which is more to do with their food and other lifestyle issues. So do you want to talk about it?
So I think, again, as much as we have a lot of awareness in terms of media, in terms of Instagram, we have now so many Instagram influencers in terms of fitness and everything. I think that makes everything very overwhelming for a person who's not really worked out before, who's not really done, let's say, a push-up before, right? And every time they attempt something which looks very perfect on Instagram, which is maybe for a minute, maybe for 30 seconds, they are thinking that they're setting themselves up for failure, which means they're not going to be trying it at all, because who wants to fail, right? So every time, so for example, let's say a squat, let's say there's a person who's doing it very, beautifully and artistically, and they are looking at that on Instagram. And maybe when they are trying to do it, it doesn't look that way. Again, what they wear, the clothes they wear, how they view themselves, the body image that we were talking about. I think all of that matters over here. They don't want to fail. In the head, they just don't want to fail, so they avoid failure. Again, failure here becomes a threat for them. It makes them feel like, okay, yeah, I'm not good enough, so why do I have to do it in the first place? So they'll pick perfection over any kind of progress and improvement that people see. So I think that is the first most important thing that we have to realize, that there's too much going on right now, too many WhatsApp messages circulating, too much on the media, too much on social media. And I think everything put together, a person who's just going to start fitness might not know, may not even understand what to do. So if you ask someone who's not even into fitness or working out till now, maybe they've been walking, maybe they read an article saying, don't walk, start running, right? Or maybe they say, okay, running is bad for your knees, start swimming. Then what do? They're so confused, right? So I think that is definitely one challenge.
So you're talking about just these are so complex. The idea of movement has to be so simple as just walk.
Exactly. It just needs to be very simple. It needs to be as simple as possible. We have complicated it so much because it's more marketable, that I think we've just lost the plot over here. So that, I think that's the first point. The second point here is that when a person chooses to work out, they need to start liking it first, because if they don't like it, they're not going to be able to sustain it in the first place. So like, he mentioned, it's motivation is overrated. It's very hyped up. So even a person who is actually very consistent on a daily basis, they're actually not motivated. They just got their habits right. So they just made it very accessible to them. They made sure that that is the thing that they prioritize. But definitely, are they motivated? Maybe it becomes intrinsic motivation at some point, but I think it's very hyped up. It's very, very hyped up. So it needs to be very accessible for them. It needs to be something that they like. So for example, if a person has not picked a form of fitness or movement yet, then the first thing I would say is, you have to first pick something that you like. So if you like to dance, pick dancing. If you like to run, go running. If you like to swim, if you like the water, if you're not scared of it, go for that. It first depends on what you like more than what needs to be done. Because the moment you start off with what you like and how much ever time you have, so even if it means only 30 minutes you're going to start off with, is there an ideal time of working out? Maybe. But can we start off with something that we can actually do, right? I think that is a good starting point, wherein even if it means I'm going to, after lunch, I'm going to walk for 5 minutes and get back to sit. It matters a lot. I think that's a good start in terms of liking it, accessibility, and can I sustain this? It shouldn't be something that I can do only on an ideal day. So if you ask many people, they would say, yeah, I'd like to work out for an hour. But is that something they can do on a regular basis? That's a bigger question here. So can you give 20 minutes of your time? Yeah, sure. So maybe you can start with that. 10 minutes? Sure. 5 minutes? Sure. Something to start off with, rather than taking a 1 hour, because you can always build it up to an hour. When you like something, you can always build it up to an hour. But when you don't even like something, you just like the idea of it, and you've not even tried it before, it's good to start off with a 5 minutes, 10 minutes. And nothing is small, that small, you can actually build it up to 20, 30, 40, 50, 1 hour. I'll give you my example. When 10, 15 years ago, back when I started running, I was actually obese. I was 100 kilos, right? And definitely movement was not something I liked. I've been a dancer for the last many, many years, like more than 2 decades now. But that still got me obese because I had seizures when I was young, and there's medications and all of that. And definitely at that point, movement was very overwhelming. Being a girl, I think, again, going out and running, people will keep staring at you, especially if you're obese. So that's a big thing. And back then I was a teenager, which means it got even worse, because the more older you get, it's still okay. But when you're a teenager, I think looks matter a lot more than anything else. So for me, it was just about, I think at some point, of course, firstly I started for weight loss, but then at some point it was more about the community that was built. Chennai has a beautiful community of runners, and I actually found an amazing group to run with, made a lot of friends there, So at some point, it started off with just 20 minutes every day, and then it built on, and then now I run marathons, I've run ultras as well, and this running behavior has been consistent for the last 13 years, with a lot of things changing in my life. Because this is something I truly like, I've seen other values as well. This is something I've consistently done. Can we call it motivation? I don't think so. Definitely don't think so, because even today, I think there are days when I don't feel like going out and running. But then it's a matter of habit right now, right? So this is just an example, gave you an example so that you understand what I'm trying to say. Yes.
So Rajat, in fact, I want to ask you, because she gave this example of the community and what it is. I know, Rajat, you were mentioning about how you work with certain sections of population in Delhi, especially the girls in some government schools. Would you want to share that example also, how it works? Because it's the end of the day, this entire thing is for the larger community.
Yeah, sure. Even before that, very, very powerful points right there. So one is, let's talk about us first, and then I'll go to something different or a little extreme. When we talk about running, the assumption is people who don't run, they think it's a 10-kilometer non-stop, it's a 42 kilometers non-stop, it's a marathon, ultra-marathons non-stop. Trust me, the very best in the world, I think it was 2007, a London Marathon, Paula Ratcliffe, world champ that time, like world record holder that time, and she took a toilet break during a marathon, yet finished first, right? Loo break, number 2, all right? What I'm really saying is, it is not, and again, she was a bit of jokes about her for like a few days, but she won the gold, yet. All I'm saying is, when you are walking, and if you want to kind of run, and especially people who don't right now run, start with brisk walk. Do the brisk walk for a minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, and try jogging. Make an attempt that in your head seems like a jog. To the other person, it might not look like a run or a jog, all right? Doesn't really matter. And jog, and what is the difference between a jog and a run? Jog is slower, running, nothing else, all right? Nothing else. There's no speed number or whatever to it. Start doing that for 30 seconds or so. And then again walk for 5 minutes or so. Then again jog for that little 30 seconds. Build it up and start increasing the time on jogging, running, and start reducing the time walking in between. That's how you do it. So that whole point about smaller units, rather than thinking too big suddenly.
So it's like, basically you're talking about designing habits that survive real world pressures.
Precisely. Take stairs. Don't take escalator, for example. I mean, coming down, escalator, I mean, come on, at least that you can take, stairs. Start with very small habits like that. Park your car further away. I mean, it just builds up, right? All of it adds up. The other example was, people like those stories more because, these other ones don't make enough sense to people. If you've been to Ladakh, how many of you been to Ladakh? Awesome. So some of us know what Ladakh is like. So I used to put together a race called the Ultra. It's now supposedly paused right now. In 2019, I put together a distance of 555-kilometer run non-stop. Okay, 555 kilometers in Ladakh. Madness. No one should do it. And I'm the organizer of that thing. We started with 222 way back in 2010. Now go back in time, Indians were not even doing 21 kilometers that time. There were not enough races in the country at that time, all right? And I was doing a 222-kilometer race in Ladakh, crossing 2 high mountain passes over 17,700 or so, Khardungla and Tanglangla. The difference between a Hyderabad marathon and, La Ultra is, if something goes wrong here, almost always, it's dehydration and all that, almost always. Sometimes things do go wrong. When something goes wrong in my race, it's very simple. It's black and white, all right? No shades of gray. Either you're alive or you're dead, all right? And I put this race for 11 years. Luckily, touch wood, stone, everything. Everyone's got back home. Some of them don't talk to me anymore because I disqualify them. And that's okay. I've got them back alive, all right? Okay, now the part of the story which connects with whatever we're talking about right now. I started with 222. The second or the third year I had, and first year all foreigners, second year all foreigners, third year all foreigners. Second year or the third year I had some participant from India asking, hey, listen, I want to sign up for this. Here's the registration fees. And I'm like, I'm not interested in your registration fees because you can die. And soon enough, I got a call from Bombay, some politician calling me saying, this runner needs to be in the race. I'm like, what are you you talking about, man? I mean, political pressure will kill him. I didn't let him enter. And then he came, I think, fifth, sixth or seventh year, I think, I let him in. My point was, do enough to qualify for my race. Only then I'll let you in, because I know the consequences. It's simple, it's death. And he came, he did a 222 kilometers, because he had qualified, he had run lots, okay? In the running circle, he was like a demigod. And he came to my race, 222, he did well. Then he came for 333, and he didn't finish that race. And he hugged me at the end of the finish line. People have a tendency to hug me a lot there. Otherwise, I'm not very huggable otherwise. So everyone keeps hugging me there. So he was like, dude, you don't understand, Rajat. I mean, I'm so glad I now understand why did you not let me in when you did not. And not finishing, because my tagline used to be, failing is not a crime, lack of effort is, right? And he told me, like, listen, really appreciate. But something else happened during this time. I reduced the distance to 111. And this is the part of the story that I want to connect to. And Indians started participating because for 111 they were qualifying. And this chap did his 222, did his 333, but other regular folks who had just picked up running started doing my races, 111 from the Army, from the Air Force, regular folks. And they did a 222 kilometers. A few of them did 333. In 2019, there was one chap who did 555, Indian chap. Out of the 3 people in the world, one is American, one is Australian, one's Indian. That's courtesy, lowering the bar rather than raising it. If you want to accomplish more, do less, all right? The problem with us is to do more, we try to do more that we can't even do, right? Start with lesser, you'll get very far. So the first step, lower it, all right? And I have no idea what you were talking about. What else was I supposed to say?
So that's what I'm telling you. So, I mean, like, designing habits that survive real-world pressures. So don't get carried away to seeing whatever you have. Sometimes just start simple. It's like just walking around your house, walking to the end of the street.
Yes,
sometimes just walking to your friend's place, or sometimes walking to your nearest bus stop. These are the beginnings which you need to make.
You asking me stories? Sorry, yes.
No, Rajat, before
examples
yeah. So I know, thanks for giving this input. So I just wanted to touch upon something which is very important from the idea of individuals to cities, urban spaces, and communities.
Yes.
So do you want to share, I would request both of you to share one experience of
One.
how, one each, because we are all short on time. I want to give a chance for people to ask their questions.
Sure.
So I would want you to give some experience of what you have done with the idea of communities, community fitness, which have helped reshape behavior in both your cases. You did mention about events. You also have been working with these things. And you mentioned about a peer network, which is great. So end of it, these kind of things have made active living inclusive, visible, and normal. That's what we would want to talk about. So I would like to hear from you each for this, and then I would like to open the flow for questions before we kind of close this.
Go on. Yeah.
Okay. So I think someone asked me yesterday which running group am I part of, and I told him I'm part of all running groups in Chennai, because that's how it feels, right? So the running community that's the easiest to pick is actually a community of friends, basically. And I think it's always important to have that community, whichever form of activity you take, whether, again, like I said, whether it's dancing or a swim or anything for that matter, because even if you do it by yourself, at the end of the day, you need people to talk to, you need to be motivated by each other, and of course, all of us need appreciation, so you need to get appreciated as well at that point, and that is where the community also helps, right? So I think the first point that I would suggest is get your friends and make sure that you're able to do something with your friends, right? I have a smaller group of girls right now wherein I don't think they have run before, but I've been a person who's been running for the last 13 years, so all of us are similarly aged. The other group that I was talking about, all of them are much older than I was, right? So right now, for me, like my work and my life is like really busy for me to always have a run in the morning. So sometimes I run in the evening, sometimes I run at some other point, and I keep traveling quite a bit, which means my runs are going to be very erratic, but I do run consistently, right? So we formed a group wherein all 4 of us have very hectic travel schedules. All of us are equally busy, but whichever part of the world we are in, we actually, every time we finish a run or a strength training or a yoga session or whatever we finish, we end up definitely posting it on our group where only 4 of us are there. And sometimes we do like a group run or a group swim or something, or just maybe like a potluck at home, just so that we can catch up on what all we've done. And I think that has motivated each other as well in terms of being consistent. So someday, let's say one of the days we look at Strava or we look at the group and we see everyone's done something, and it gets us to get up and move. So even if we've had a hard day, let's say I've had a hard day and I'm not able to, maybe I've not done anything for today, I would still get up and do something. I'd either go for a walk or, find a way to go for a run, something or the other, right? And it really motivates just to see other people do things. You're like, okay, if they can do it, I can do it too. Let me go and do something, right? So I think that's one definite example that I can give you, that whatever you do, start liking it and have a good group of friends. It need not be that you do everything together. It could just mean that you're accountable to each other, and that would help. And start small. Definitely start small. Don't do something overwhelmingly big.
That's interesting. So, because of your schedule, I'm sure all of your busy schedules, you're working, you're probably doing things. Some of you work in the night, some of you work in the morning. Just even form a group just to kind of have a nice a buddy system which is going to help you. So that's something very interesting, that irrespective of where you are, what you are, and this thing, you just have somebody whom you're trying to be accountable to in a way just by doing your work. It's very interesting, Keerthana, from your experience. Rajat?
Yeah. So I collaborate with a student of mine from Ashoka University. I was their director for sports way back when Ashoka University in Sonipat had started. And this guy was a Young India fellow, actually 2 of them, one guy, a girl. Young India fellow graduates, or whatever they're called, fellows. They started an organization called Swa Talim. So Swa Talim. And what they do is they go to schools which are very poorest of the poor areas, all that, where curriculum, the teaching, people graduate, qualify, all that without knowing anything. I mean, that's primarily what India suffers from, right? You can have a PhD without knowing anything in life. So what he would or they would do is raise the bar of them being employable, right? And these schools were actually Kasturba Gandhi Balika Vidyalayas. Think of a government school in a bad place, like a poor place. Think of that. Now think of something worse than that. That's what Kasturba Gandhi Balika Vidyalayas caters to. Only girl students from broken homes, from minority backgrounds, from homes where there is no home. They've been thrown out from homes. They're living with their extended families. They'll be married very soon. They'll be sold off. All that stuff would happen. They almost always don't end up finishing school, all right? And what the government did was actually, it's a week boarding. So weekend you go to your parents, but the 5 days you kind of stay in the school. And here we were trying to raise the bar. I mean, that's what those 2 folks were doing. Effectively, he reached out to me saying, listen, you try to make us run and physically active and all that, because my role at Ashoka was, yeah, maybe they're creating world leaders, but how do we increase the longevity and the shelf life of all those so-called world leaders? Because today the shelf life is about 10 years after they graduate. Okay, it's pathetic. So that's why they got in touch with me. And I said, why don't we create a program called Run to Fly? So these girls who are not wanted in the world by anyone, and I'm telling, hey, listen, I want them to run. They are physically active girls, right? Now, who am I to talk about girls? But the point is, 3 things happen in a woman's life, girl's life. One is during puberty. You've been very active till then, and there are 27 ladies here right now. You'll probably agree with me on this. So you've been very active till then. You've been playing with your cousins, your friends, your family, all that stuff, and things start changing, anatomy, physiology, all that starts changing. And you're told not to be with them, and you're impure, all that stuff. Don't go to the temples, all that. That's the first phase when you're told not to move by everyone, by so-called well-meaning people, all right? That's the first one. Now that fits in with a 10, 12-year age. That's about 5th or 6th class or 7th class, right? All those world champions are now disappearing, courtesy that, right? The second one is pregnancy, right? In today's world, because the pregnancies are happening later, it's become even more precious child. everyone's telling you, your in-laws, your parents, especially the doctors, don't do this, don't do that. The best prevention is not to do things, right? The best way to prevent anything. And so that's the second part. If you've been active by any chance, now you're told not to be active. And thank God for that, because then they get back pain, knee pain. I deal with back pain, knee pain, so I'm great. I mean, please don't move. And the third one is perimenopausal and menopausal. If you so far survived, now you don't do anything, right? Now, what we're doing there is 5th to 6th class, when I'm getting those girls, they already are more inactive than the girls who are younger than them. Younger girls are running better than them than girl who's in 7th or 8th. And we have records for this. We can show you this. I've been at it for the last 4 years now. And we have been about 3,000, 4,000 girls who are in the program, and we're getting them running better. The beauty of this, Rajesh, is I spend about 10 hours training 3 girls in a year, okay? And these girls are about 3 or 4 years older than the rest of the gang who they will train. So they are 19, 18, 17, that kind of same lingo. Mewat district I'm talking about in Haryana, the most backward when you want to talk about things in life. So we would take 3, 4 girls who are motivated, and they'll start training them. 10 hours all that I would spend in a year with them. Hey, this is how you move, this is how you exercise, and this is what running is, this is what walking is, and tell them a little training program, what it is. 3,000-4,000 girls have gone through the program, and when we talk to them, we're not talking about have you got faster at running, or is there a plan to win a medal. As I say, in my opinion, medals are way overrated, right? They don't change a thing. Okay, so I totally still disagree, but that's all right. But the thing is, most medal winners in front of me, when they sit, I've seen the arrogance. I've seen them being such pain in everyone else's back as well, and butt as all, or all that. So here we're talking about how confident were you before? How confident are you now? When you're going out there, your body appearance and all that, how comfortable are you with yourself being you? How are you performing at school? And other soft skills like that. I'm a visiting faculty for National Police Academy, all thanks to my friend here, Rajesh. They dream about becoming a constable, they dream about becoming a nurse. What I've changed for them is, hey, I'm a doctor, I go train IPS. Why don't we plan becoming a doctor or a surgeon? Why don't we actually try thinking about becoming an IPS officer? Why only a constable? And they're dreaming big. Now, what I'm saying is, this is a game changer, and I'm going to cheat here since I have the mic. Give me a second, all right?
We just have another, I need time for...
2 minutes. That's why I'm looking at the watch all the time. So, my mom passed away in 2019, a very, very quick one here, and my big thing, guilt was, I wish I could have spent a couple of more minutes with her. We all have that and carry that guilt for a while, and I'm a doctor. What kind of a doctor? I'm a quack. If I couldn't save my own mom and all that. For her first birthday, 5th January 2020, I organized something called Walk with Your Parents, and without even expecting anything, because I was organizing all crazy races, right? 555 in Ladakh. In Aero City, again, Rajesh has a role there. It was around Delhi Aero City. We put that together, and the GMR folks were they're not paying me to do this. But the thing is, they were very kind to kind of allow me that space, all that. 500 plus parents, children, grandchildren, grandparents showed up. Very, very cold morning. And it was free. It was not charged for. There was free breakfast. There was free, a lot of things. The feedback was, it was amazing. Some of them were connecting with their parents and the children after 20 odd years. They'd not spent quality time. They could sit together, but quality time, just being there, not even talking. And they realized how important that part is, because we've not been doing that. Okay, so I would say, just call that parent, call that child, and figure out that holiday where it's just about you and me. And to connect, sometimes we need to disconnect, put that phone down, because this is the biggest enemy today. You want to talk health, this is the biggest issue, the phone, right? Kids, if it can be delayed, and I'm done. That's okay.
Yeah, thanks.
But that's
so, before I just open the floor for a few questions, it's important that the kind of perspective which you're giving from movement is just not from a physical, but from a social perspective. So how many of you have had a chance to walk with your parents or your children? How many do it regularly? Nice, okay. It's just only 2-3 hands up. So I think that's a great idea what Rajat has told, that hopefully after this, just contact whomever, it's your parents or children, and you say that I just would want to go for a walk, not do anything. So your movement starts from there. So there are different reasons to kind of start looking at it. And so we have time for, can I take okay, now 10:52, can I take three, I have the floor open for 3 questions. Yeah, can you just.
Yeah, so I've heard, sorry, I got a bad throat. I've heard that, even we are not motivated, our brain gets motivated when we start, practicing new thing. And especially because I'm a psychologist, so it's said that, when you're running, the brain doesn't distinguish between fear and motivation. So you can do that extra bit. Is that correct? We can always, our brain is generally motivated when we start a new practice? If we are not.
Shall I?
You want to answer?
Yes. So this is a lot more neuroscience related than anything else. So when you do something new, and that's where starting something small really helps. Because when you start something very big, and sometimes there are some challenges, in our mind we feel like we have not done it, right? So that's why starting something small really helps. So let's say you start with a 5K. Even if 10K is easy for you, start with there. And you start increasing the distance a little by little by little. What actually happens is that you're tricking your brain to say that, hey, you've done so much, you can do it. It's just 1 more kilometer. It's just 1 more kilometer. And that's where, and that is why people also say running is very addictive. There was once a time when I wanted to do just a 3K run. Can you take a wild guess as to how much I finished that day? Just take a wild guess. 27 kilometers. Why? Because I said just 1 more. Just 1 more. And I ended up actually finishing that distance, and I had to stop there only because I actually had something else to do after that. I took a look at the time and I said, no, I need to stop right now, right? So it actually gets that addictive because you're now tricking your mind. So if you know exactly how to trick your mind and say, yeah, it's just that, then you can run any distance that you need to. And that is what I would say. And yes, at that point, your brain can't really distinguish because there are these endorphins and all of that which is getting released, which, yeah, it really tricks your mind.
I'll just add, be careful when you're starting off, and we get into the zone of, hey, listen, it's feeling good. And I'm going to just contradict totally. It sounds like a contradiction, but it's not.
It's not, yes.
So the thing is, initially when we are starting, it's very, very important. Try increasing by a little bit. Be very, very disciplined about that, because you can get very carried away. The crowd could be such, you could be running in a Hyderabad marathon, whatever, and you go for in that wave for a 21 when you had planned for 3. So gradually start, because the difference between the two of us is I'm the guy who sees people getting hurt with injuries that become permanent then. Always just that little bit more. My thing is, don't compare to yourself when you were 17, compare to yourself yesterday. So saying, do you have the background in the last 3-6 months to have done what you are signed up for? Only that much, maybe 10% is okay. I'm coming from a safety point of view. I'm not talking psychology and all that. So saying preventing injuries is very important. Longevity matters to me. I would rather have you running for another 70 years than, hey, listen, today I did 30. Great for you, but what about tomorrow? Are you still able to stand?
Injury-free is very
important. Very, very important.
Yeah. Next question.
I have 3 small bits to my question. First one, don't go down the stairs. Advisable to go up the stairs. Fact or fiction? Second one, tips for building muscle mass for a senior citizen like me. And the third part, I have COPD, advisability for running.
So say the first one again, please, down and up.
Don't go down the stairs
Go
because it affects your knees,
Fact or
but
fiction?
better to go up. I don't follow that advice.
So let's start with the stairs. So effectively, when you have knee injury, most knee injuries will happen more coming down than going up. The reason is, so it's not, yours is is a total myth. It doesn't really matter up and down. For a healthy person, if there's no pain, carry on, please carry on. But for that, there's another bit to it. If you don't have enough stability, if you don't have enough strength, going up is easier musculoskeletal-wise, injury-wise, versus coming down. That's the thing. More injuries happen while running downhill, because it's a break each time. Versus up, it's only about it's only about cardiovascular getting tired. All right. So that's the first part. COPD. COPD is more about, okay, fair enough, whatever's happening in the lungs.
Would you want to tell what COPD is?
Uh, so obstructive pulmonary disease, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease is happening, right? So you're not able to breathe, your lungs are not working very well, the alveoli are not, the air vessels that are there, the tubes and all that, they're not working very well. Obstructive, okay? So it's not working very well at a pulmonary level. I mean, that's the whole idea, all right? And you get breathless very soon, sooner than you should. Worst case scenario, while sitting, you could be wheezing and all that could be happening, okay? Now, let me go back with this because most of my medics friends have made these things very irreversible and, like nothing can be done about them till you take my medicine and all that. It's a breathing issue. Start breathing, right? Now, lungs are right here, heart's right here, in a rib cage. If the postures become like that, if your spine is stiff, from the base of the neck up till where the belt is, the 24 bones, 24 vertebrae, 24 joints. What do? We stiffen it up because we're scared to breathe because COPD is there or, whatever. Or our teacher in school had told us, be like an army man, right? And the way the spine is best is when it's actually agile and mobile. It's not supposed to be stiff. Someone who has a spine, we say, hey, do you have a spine? That spine should not be rigid. That spine should be agile, right? Think about it philosophically, psychologically, whichever way you want. But the point really is...
Sorry, what was the second question, sir?
COPD.
Muscle mass. How do you build muscle mass?
Coming to that. No. Carrying on with this. So we're done. So the thing is, as you're breathing, start breathing. Don't be in a position like that. Be more upright. Start breathing. I mean, there's a simple exercise like that. Get those ribs moving for you. Get the spine moving. Do the spine mobility exercise to improve COPD. The second and the third questions are connected. That's why I was actually not talking about that first. Strength training is very important because when the muscles are working right in your spine, in your chest, if the front is not tight and the back is not weak, and your lower back is not weak and your legs are not weak, it's helping your COPD because a fuel-efficient body is more important. So it's loading the heart and the lungs lesser. So you can start strength training any age. So just start with small little steps.
Okay, I have permission for one last question before I have the concluding remarks. Anybody having? Okay.
Firstly, thank you so much for such a thoughtful session. And I am a full marathon myself. This is to both of you. I want to understand, so I connect with your journey more because I was also obese once upon a time, then started running 10, 21 and 42. But later, I've ran 9 full marathons and all. But later at one point of time in my life, I started feeling like, how much is enough for me? Like, why do I run this much? Like, I felt like I'm lunatic to keep running like this. So, and I also do treks in Himalayas and all. So, for that, the bare minimum qualification is like, if you can run 10K, then it is enough. So, 2 questions from this is, what are physical and mental benefits that we get by running longer and longer and longer, because ultras and all. That is the first thing. And second one, what is bare minimum that is enough for a very healthy citizen? Like, how many kilometers?
So I'm going to bash myself than anyone else. So when you talk physical benefit of running, if you're doing a 7 or a 10 kilometers, you're doing enough. After that, it's about madness. All right? It's because you're addicted to it, you love it, all that. There is no need, health-wise, to run a 21 or a 42.
So, Rajat, I'll interrupt you. How many of you, what is IQ? IQ? Intelligence quotient? No, it's insanity quotient. So, yeah, that's insane. So, it just matters. So, as Rajat is telling, anything above 7 to 10 kilometers is insane. So, for somebody doing 21, for the guy who is doing 10, 21 is insane. For 21, 42 is insane. And then it just goes on. So, it's just insanity.
Physical benefits.
Yeah,
so physical benefits.
So there's no physical benefit out of it. It's just insanity. It's your, whatever, that's the thing. And then mental?
Mental, I'll let, why don't you go ahead with the mental part?
Okay, so first of all, please don't beat yourself up that it's changing. Usually our priorities and our goals keep changing at every aspect of our life. There are people who run full marathons who don't really run full marathons anymore, but they still continue to run, and that's totally okay. In terms of mental benefits, see again, if you run even for say 20 to 30 minutes, you still do get the mental benefits that you usually should be getting, right? Wherein you're training your mind to get a better stress threshold and all of that, 100% you're already getting it. But what happens when you run a 42 or a 21, because it's so physically challenging, you're telling, or you're trying to tell your mind how to expand those limits. You're somewhere talking to yourself, and it is very painful. It's not something which is not painful, right? So again, at some point, you're even training for it is actually more mental training than physical training, right? So even when you do those interval runs, maybe physically you're able to do it, but mentally you're bored, you want to give up, right? So even that is about you talking to yourself. Are you able to be in control of your mind? Because 42 kilometers, let's say 4 hours, is a long time for your mind to keep quiet, right? Either you're listening to music or you're just quiet, right? And that is where your mind plays a lot of tricks. And it's more about controlling, are you in control of your mind? So that's where it really helps.
Yeah, thank you. So once again, I think we just finished our time. First of all, I would like to thank all of you for coming here in the morning at 10 o'clock. You know, initially when we started, people were telling that it'll be empty, but the organizers were so, Teja was so sure that it will be full. Thanks to see all of you. So just to kind of sum up, you know, movement is something very simple. Just set small goals. Just do it with your friends, family, around your this thing, and then slowly take it forward. So the idea of movement, I mean, though we talked about running, marathons, don't get psyched by them. Start slow, start simple, and that's what it's important to be active in this current day world which we live in. That's one. And thanks to all our members from the organizers and Hyderabad Literary Fest for having given this opportunity. We just have books. Rajat has got 2 books, the Pain Handbook and the Movement Medicine. In case you're interested, you can buy them here, or you can go to the Hyderabad Runner's stall, which is just outside on the left side, to pick those books. He'll be there. Both of them are going to be there for the next couple of hours there in case you want to interact. You're welcome to do so, and please inform your friends. Thank you.